All right, welcome back. On this lesson, we're going to talk about what is leadership. Yeah, we've already kind of talked about it. We've talked about a little about leadership, but I'm going to give you a solid definition. I'm going to stop playing games with you and kind of walking you along, but I'm going to tell you what leadership is, and I'm going to make it real super simple. We've kind of already said it. I'm going to condense it. And from that, I'm then going to walk you through what you're going to go and experience through all of the rest of this this entire course. This entire course is about leadership itself. And once you know what leadership is, we can then start to break it apart into the main components that are involved. And then we're going to look at and attack each one of those. So let's talk about what is leadership, because we already know about influence. We know about that influencing is a currency, natural currency dynamic relationship situation between people, and people will use it either for their own gain or the benefits of others. That's one's a manipulator, and then the other one is a leader that does leadership. One is a manipulator, they do manipulation. And so we've said leadership, we said, okay, it is doing influence for good and for the benefit of others. I'm going to tack on one other little thing there, kind of like a seasoning, if you will, that kind of wraps the whole thing together, because there's a part that we didn't spend a lot of time on, and that's what the good is. Okay, and the good is the glue that holds that thing all together. So let's look at this. Okay. So we've got leadership, okay? Now, and I'm going to write the word good here. And then I'm going to write some different major components to leadership. I'm going to say what you do to influence yourself. Let me kind of put it here. I'm going to change these around later, but I'm going to kind of put it in plain speak for now. Okay? Kind of under the banner of leadership. You kind of have leadership. You've got good. This word good, that's kind of come about. I'll put quotes around it. Influencing yourself. I've had other people who have taught leadership try to get in this with me, and they're saying it's very other focused. Sorry. Consider me schizophrenic, but the reality is when we're actually going out there and doing something, just before I may or may not post this video that was me doing kind of a pre-roll check for the different cameras. I got a camera there, I've got a camera right there, and then I have a camera over here. I have a microphone up here, and I have this microphone here. I've got a switchboard. I've got a switchboard down here that I control things with, and then I've got an audio switchboard back there that I basically set and forget. I've got my studio right there, and it's all interconnected and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of tech going on here, a lot of audio tech and video tech, and I've got it all integrated together. And there's a lot of things, like I have very specific things in mind, and in order to get this thing to work, it requires a lot. It's been pushing me kind of to the limits of my technical prowess. Now, I built a list, and I grow this thing as I go along. And this list is a checklist to check for different kinds of things. They're really all the problems that I've run into, and trying to eliminate that these problems exist and have it. And then eventually over time, I might bring on people and give them this list and show them, and so on and so on. What I was actually doing, because I recorded this, and I might post it as like an extra benefit pre-roll or a kind of a post-roll to this, is I was influencing myself. Okay, we talked about influence being about, like long before you influence somebody else, you have to influence yourself, right? Influence is about actions, behaviors, and beliefs. And the first line of you got to ask yourself, are you only ever going to be a person who is influenced by other people, or are you also going to influence yourself? as in you're going to do the actions, behaviors, and beliefs that you tell yourself to do. This is super important. We're going to go in depth on this. But the act and the effort of creating this list, I don't normally do this. I don't really normally have lists, and I don't normally have them printed out. But the success of this project depends upon me doing a list like this. It absolutely 100% depends on me doing a list like that. And so that's a belief. I come under the belief of that. I ran into that belief. There's no one here in the studio to tell me, hey, you should do that. You should totally value that. No one's told me that. I've run into that in real life. And so I've convinced myself I'll have a much higher chance for success with each one of these recordings if I look at my checklist. The next thing is adopting the behavior. I don't normally do a checklist. I'm trying to tell you this right now. I don't know of one other checklist that I even own. Okay, so this is a new behavior. And to do this behavior, I'm trying to remember before I hit record, which I did not do before I did this. I just did a recording, so I believe it's all set up. I just needed to plug in the recording devices and hit record on everything. So I didn't really go through it. I did it a minute ago, and everything's been set up, and I'm checking things as I go. The behaviors, I'm starting to adopt that behavior by forcing individual actions on these things. So I'm telling you right now, in order to continue to hop up here, I've got to be able to influence myself to come and do this. I got to have things like a belief that this is worth it to try to impart this stuff on you. And no one's told me to do that except for myself. It's so critical. The person who tried to tell me that it's not leadership to influence yourself, I'm going to tell you unequivocally, you're dead wrong. You're dead wrong. The first person to be influenced by leaders themselves. It's the first person. They got to wake up every day and do the various things that they got to do. Who's telling them to do that? Mommy and daddy? No. You're doing it. Influence self is critical to leadership. Now, there's another thing here. We got to get that influence from other people. Now, I say the word earn, because it's earned. You've got to go out there and take actions to get that influence. What I didn't show in the currency example, I think as well as I could have, was the fact that in order to get that balance that you can then use, you have to do things for other people. And so the conversation, or the example I gave was kind of this conversation between, I think it was John and Sue. And it was kind of it might have been a very awkward conversation in some capacity, especially kind of the way I was stretching it. But in that particular case, taking it to that next level, imagine that Sue, she worked at a newspaper, and then she tells, they're balancing back and forth their relationship. And then all of a sudden, John finds out she works at a newspaper, and he knows that he's going to need a newspaper's help down the road. He might start intentionally doing things for Sue, finding out what she values, what is good, what she believes is good for her, and then going and delivering it. That is how you increase the balance. It actually doesn't decrease. Okay, so I kind of alluded at that the examples I given were not perfect examples where it's like I'm taking one from you and giving you another. It's not the case. You can independently decide to earn influence with other people, and that does not mean that they're handing the influence they had from themselves over to you. That's not what's happening. It's getting manufactured and produced in real time. And that's how you can have a very high influence relationship where you can ask for big things back and forth and you don't lose it. It's from earning influence. Earning influence. Okay, next is spending influence. Okay, this is how you actually use that influence. All right, I'm going to change two of these right here, but I'm going to leave these as is. These are kind of the different components to leadership. And I'm going to do a couple things on the board here. Okay, so the first things first. I'm going to call influence self something a little bit different. But that is what this is, okay? I'm now going to call this developing, I'm going to say develop character. Okay? So when you're influencing yourself, what you're actually doing is you're developing your character. You're developing the nature of what is you. The habits, beliefs, behaviors, the actions, these kinds of things. That is a major component to who you are. And who you are in that very deep sense, that spiritual, that mind, that body sense, all of those kind of intertwined, that makes you who you are. You're developing character. When you wake up and you stay committed, you know, you're constantly reminding yourself and like committing to something that you've said that you're going to be committed to, even though when you don't want to. When you're getting up and you're doing these various things, again, you just listen to that language I just said. I just slipped out, you know. Didn't want to do. Isn't that what we just said about in the previous videos? That oftentimes you're getting people to do things that they don't want to do because they believe it's good for them. That when you do it to yourself is developing your character. And as you do it more over time, you start to get this really easily because this developed character supports these. Okay? There's more to it than this. Now, I'm going to change leadership up here. So you got to know what leadership is. You got to know leadership. I just call it know leadership, right? Know as in K-N-O-W. Know, knowledge. To have knowledge of leadership. And then I'm going to change the word good. This is what we're talking about, like, I'm willing to do it because it is good for me. That kind of concept of good, that's what we're talking about here. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to call it something else. I'm going to introduce this word called vision. That's it. Okay. No leadership, actually, and even then, in keeping with the remainder of this, what this list is actually is a recipe book. It's a recipe. Carry a vision. This is the leader's playbook. This is how leaders become great leaders. This model right here. What I'm unveiling to you right now is once you know this entire module that all these lessons have been under no leadership. And once you know leadership, you'll know that it consists of these things right here. These are actually directives. I am telling you to do these things right here. I don't know if I have earned it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Do these things. Know leadership. Carry a vision. Develop your character. Earn influence. Spend influence. Know, carry, develop, earn, spend. The fact that you now know what leadership is, because if all you did was you knew this, and you did not know how to earn influence, you did not know how to spend influence, you do not know how to develop character, you don't know how to carry a vision, but you know that these things are here, you're already so far ahead, you have no idea. It has taken me years to develop this model. Years. Lots and lots of thinking and tweaking and changing these words and knowing them and how they interrelate and all this kind of stuff. And the reason I did that is because there's this mess. Remember, this is why I brought up this whole side of my library. And there's 40, 50 bucks over there. And then this whole side over here about business. It's all influence. Here's one right here. Right? I'm now reaching at the business section. Look at this tome. I'm going to keep bringing these books up. Okay, this is a pretty big book. This book right here It's 442 pages, including the index right here. It's called Raising Capital. Now, when I'm showing you these books, I'm not recommending reading these books, just some random book because to make this point. This book right here, Get the Money You Need to Grow Your Business. Authors of mergers and acquisitions from A to Z. Raising Capital. Okay. This book right here, it is doing what I've been telling you since the very beginning. It is trying to influence me. It is trying to get me to take actions, adopt behaviors and beliefs. This book is predicated that I have a belief that by reading a book, it can help me. Just this random book. I just grabbed a book. It was one of the easiest ones to grab. How about this one? Totally different. Born to Run. I have not read this one. Okay. Right here. Born to Run. A Hidden Tribe. Super athletes in the greatest race the world has never seen. Okay. Something about running. And this person recommended it to me that it's a good book about running. At the end of the day, it's like a story. There's a reason why they're putting this book out. And there's a reason why I could buy it. Because somehow I think I'm going to benefit from buying this book. Raising Capital is very much the same thing. It says, again, let me look at this title. Get the money you need to grow your business. And so, if you're looking, I need to get the money I need to grow my business. Oh, I need to raise capital. Let me go read 442 pages from a venture capitalist to tell me how to do that. Of course, there's other ways to do it. Is that for them or is that for self and manipulation of me? Or is that leadership to try to help me go down the path? Now, I'm going to ask that question. I'm not trying to answer it here, but I just grabbed a random book. There's other books. Blue Ocean Shift. That's one that you throw it out there as this concept, this idea about different ways of doing markets. And blue being like good and red being bad. They want me to believe something about the world so that I make decisions and I do different actions, different behaviors. That's influence. Its influence is all around. I'm completely and totally surrounded by books that are doing influence. Nonfiction, some people believe that, okay, maybe nonfiction is not influence. Okay, it is. They're giving you what you want. You want escapism oftentimes, and you want an interesting story that makes sense. Makes sense, whatever that means. It's a little nebulous, what makes sense. And it's going to suspend the world around you to bring you to another world that's sort of similar to the way this world is, except a little bit different. That's to hold your entertainment, and it's maybe to enrich you. And then people who are big readers, they'll read these books, and they feel like somehow they've gained. Okay? The thing I'm telling you right now, because I'm trying to actually impart a belief on you, is that this is the key to do leadership. You got to know leadership. You have to carry a vision, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about each one of these. Develop character, earn influence, and spend influence. So let's talk about how this all works, how this all interrelates, how this thing works. You got to know what you're doing. That's what knowing leadership is all about. You got to know that this thing is there. Otherwise, you won't do all of them. You'll skip on one or the other one. I mentioned it in, I think, the opening video for this entire module about what happens when somebody doesn't do one of these. If you don't know leadership and you don't practice like getting an understanding of what leadership is, you're going to run into the situation where you can't grow your leadership because you don't know what the heck is going on. It's really that simple. If you don't carry a vision, you're pretty much a manipulator. It's really that simple. I put the word good here just to get your kind of associations. Carrying a vision. Vision means good. Vision means something good that we're going to obtain or we're going to go towards. That's what vision means. Carry a vision is an action word for you to do something. You have to carry a vision. Notice how it's the very next thing. You got to know what the heck is going on. Then the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to hold a flag. Let me start drawing. Let me see if I can actually do this. All right. Let's take pink. Okay, let's see if I can draw this kind of brain thing. I've never drawn a brain, I think, before. Something like that, right? Okay? You got to use your brain. You got to know leadership. Number 2, you got to carry a flag. You got to be a little person here. Got to carry a flag. Because the thing that's doing the influence is primarily the flag. The flag is doing the influencing. Way more so than you might imagine. Just think about this for a second. Militaries around the world, up until fairly recently in military history, they would carry flags with them. Actually, they still carry flags. If they're out in the open, they will carry flags. There's a couple different reasons. There's signaling. So in other words, the flag is so that they can communicate between other entities. They can see, for example, where they are on a battlefield. That's done even less nowadays because of the complexity of war. But the flag is there to actually stand as a symbol to see where the line is of the troops, of what they own, so that if it moves forward, people will move forward. They will take action. They will also have beliefs. They will have a belief that maybe we're winning. Or maybe it's, if we don't take more action, we're going to lose based on where this flag is. That's why flag is so important. It's been known by military people for, I guess, millennia. I don't know how long, but a very, very long time. Develop your character. So I'm going to draw for this. I don't know. I'm going to draw a little book, right? Some words. Okay. You're going to earn influence. And the way that you're going to earn influence is by doing things for other people. And so I'm going to draw a person who is mowing someone's lawn. They're pushing a lawnmower along. Let me get rid of this other arm that doesn't make sense. Person is mowing a lawn. And then spending influence, this is, you got a hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got a hand. It's got the money in it. And you're handing that money over. You got to know what you're doing. You know that you got to have a flag. You carry that flag. You're then preparing yourself all the time for what it's going to take to carry that flag. That's why that's there. You then are going to start taking actions in the world so that you can spend that influence to the achievement of the flag. That's why this is ordered like this. This is ordered very intentionally too. You got to start here. So you can go here, and then this goes back to here. And the cycle continues. You got to know. You got to go down. You got to spend. You got to come back around so you can carry the flag, so you can prove your character, so you can take actions, so you can spend that influence, and around it goes. And the purpose of all of this is for this right here. This is why this is so important. That right there is because of the vision, carrying the vision. That's the whole point of all of this activity, is the vision. It's at the center of it. In theory, and I say in theory because we live in the world that we live in. In theory, people go to war for the purposes of solving some political conflict. The vision is of a world in which that conflict is no longer exists. We're no longer in peaceful terms. We're now in unpeaceful terms because we are trying to set the world right, to put it in the configuration that it needs to be, and we're willing to do it by force. That's the vision. That is not a vision for the enemy side coming from you. That is a vision for the people who are going to benefit on your own side, so to say. They need that vision. So you carry that flag. This is for a world in which this no longer exists. Okay? Carry that vision. The next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to wake up day after day after day and hold that thing. You're going to have to learn about what are the ways that people are influenced. You got to look at yourself. You got to see these things about you that you got to lop off all these things that are actually hurting you. There are things like becoming aware of you spending influence on things that you get no good return from. People do this all the time. I've been super guilty of liking to play with people. That's my own personal thing. That's evil. That's not leading people. That's maybe manipulating people. I will poke people for the purposes of my own enjoyment. That is evil behavior. So I am working on developing my character to try to mitigate that. Maybe have fun and maybe them having a good time too. And so if I were to do that, I'm going to take different actions. I'm going to have different behaviors, different beliefs. This entire process has shifted me around to looking at this a little bit differently, that I can't keep doing those things because they are preventing me from being able to get to the vision. Developing character. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to earn influence. So you're like, okay, I'm going in this particular direction. I've been working on the things that I need to work on. I need to work on being more sincere. I need to work on playing less when it's inappropriate time to play. And sometimes, hey, it might make sense to play, but to do it intentionally. Right in here, okay? To come up with a plan, to think about these things. Now we're going to earn influence. Now we're going to take what we can, and we're going to go and we're going to see the people out in the real world. We're going to discover things about them. We're going to study. So our character is now of like a learning and growth mindset. We're going to go and study. We're going to understand what they want. We're going to go do things that they want, that they believe. And I'm showing like this character like mowing lawns, which sounds real tough. But in reality, it's not necessarily that laborious. We're going to go into this. I promise. I promise you, I'm going to give you like concrete technical things you can just go do. You can just take and go grab. I mean, I'll give you one right now. It's better to smile at people than not to smile at people. It's really that simple. You are giving them something. You're giving a world in which people smile. That is giving them something. That's not mowing a lawn. That's not going out in the blazing heat and doing heavy lifting for them. It can be that small. You smile, you gain a token, then you can ask them, hey, can you remove that from your lawn? I don't like it. And they're like, okay. It's because you smiled. You had a small balance. You increased it because you smiled. You said hello. How are you doing? You're building up a little bit so you can say, that thing over there, I don't want it. I don't like it. Can you remove it? Depending on how big your balance is, they'll go and do it like they're automatons. Depends on what you've done for them. And not everybody is the same. And the differences between people are actually pretty predictable. We'll go into that though. We'll go into that another time about the real depths of doing this. Some of the things are super easy. Some of the things you can earn influence by just like kicking your feet up and just hanging back. I swear on my life, you can earn influence so easy, so regularly by doing certain kinds of things. And it isn't necessarily just mowing the lawn and doing hard stuff. But you may need to do that. They call them kissing frogs. If you've ever heard that term before, kissing frogs. That means like you've got to go do the thing you don't really want to do, but it earns you influence, so you're going to do it. That's if your character is strong enough. And I've come to find that many people's character, they have not studied it, they have not worked on it, and their character is terrible. And every single day, it holds them back because their character sucks. Just to be blunt, this right here is murdering people in this realm. Their character cannot support the entirety of leadership. And I'm gonna help you with that, I promise. Lastly, back to the spending influence. This is super. This is where wisdom and wise use of this. I brought up the money thing, not because I want to continue to perpetuate society's belief about money and its uses. I'm really not trying to do that. It is just a good and easy way to get people to kind of understand things. They already know basics about savings and things like that. I'm sure you do. These things will help you to understand this. It is not always a good idea to open your freaking mouth to talk about things. In fact, more often than not, it's not. Because unless you have intention behind it, unless you're doing something to benefit somebody else, which would be in this realm right in here, earning influence, you are spending influence. And the question is whether or not you're spending it for the purposes of carrying that flag. And if you are not, you are a short ways away from this just totally falling to pieces and falling out of the realm of being a leader, falling into the realm of being a manipulator, because you just don't have your head on right. The carrying the flag, you got to look at that flag regularly. You have to douse yourself with that stuff. That's like why real leaders, they're not playing around. They're not playing around. They may even be like, oh, playing around. That is for your benefit, to confuse you. Because it might be, I'm not trying to justify manipulators who are pretending to be leaders or something like that, but I will tell you sometimes you will have to do tactics and strategies you're not crazy about, because that's what's necessary to get you to the flag. And you and all the other people that believe in that. And the reason why I use this symbology, because it is so powerful. It's so incredibly powerful what a flag will do, that just to ignore it would be absolutely ridiculous. This is such a powerful symbol, a flag. I've just drawn an empty flag here, and in your mind, you are already filling that flag in with whatever flag you want. That's how powerful flags are. But guess what? That's what's influencing a lot of people, but it's not everything. Developing your character, that influences a lot of people. And you earning this influence, this whole package here is you. Let me go ahead and group that. Okay? This right here, this is you, the leader. This right here is not you. This is the thing that's the big one. Notice these are grouped together of how that relates to you, what you can do. I mean, you can do all these, right? You need to do all these. But this is you. This is outside of you. And this thing right here, this external thing, is the thing by which the combination of these two things will influence anybody on planet Earth. It's either about you will do these things because I have done things for you. I'm just kind of hand waving here. I'm just kind of riffing. You will do these things because I have mowed your grass and I have done it so many times that I have so much capital saved up, and I'm going to ask you to go do this thing you don't want to do. And they're going to be like, okay, fine. Then there's this other thing here, which is I'm going to ask you to go do this thing, which is going to be in the pursuit of this. And if you do this, we have the chance of carrying the vision. That has nothing to do with this necessarily. The kind of person that would say that has developed their character. They might be earning the influence by doing something like saying something that somebody else believes. Which, by the way, can happen naturally. As in, you just actually believe that. And they do too. Cool. And they're keeping their spending really low, because telling something what somebody believes, and I mean, like, we're talking like the really deep things, like these changes need to happen. That's what they believe. That's the flag they're carrying. There's certain politicians out there right now who know this. They know this. They know it. That's why they're carrying the flag. They've got a lot of this going on. They've developed their character in a lot of different ways. They've gone through a lot of nonsense, which is part of developing character. They've kissed a lot of babies, and they've kissed a lot of frogs. And they have managed their expenses and their spending very, 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 very well. Carrying that flag. This is a killer combination. It's not even just effective. It's not just effective. It is. It is the model. And so that's what the Leadership Awakening is all about. It's about this. It's coming into an awareness of this. I'm going to delete and erase all these various things here, but I'm going to leave this up because I'm going to give you one last little thing before we go. Okay. To make this real easy, basically I've kind of split this up and a couple different things here. So the first letter of each one of these, I basically have split out, and it's KCDES, D-E-S, KCDES, KCDES. I'm going to say it, and when I say KCDES from now on, you're going to know what I'm talking about. You're going to know leadership. You're going to know it's about carrying a vision. You're going to know it's about developing character, earning influence, and spending influence. KCDES. That's what it is. Then you're going to know the words. These words right here are all action words. These are the words to do. To do. You're doing them. You are in the state of trying to know. You are trying to carry a flag. I say trying. Why am I saying trying? You are carrying a flag. You are developing character. You are going to earn influence, and you're going to spend influence. Some people truly, truly, truly need people to tell them what to do. And I am telling you what to do right now. And I'm telling you to do these 5 things. And if you do these 5 things, you will be a leader. Just by knowing about this information. This is critical information that is not passed out there. Just by knowing this information, that makes you a leader. If you apply it. If you try, just try. I'm going to bring that word back up. If you try these, you'll be a leader. Guarantee it. This is part of the reason why I have guaranteed. I do the first 7 days of free because this module right here, which you needed to get to by going through the other modules. It just doesn't make any sense. I can't talk about this till you've heard about influence and manipulation and good and all this kind of stuff. This is the module. Because I knew that this was coming up. And that when you come across this information, you can't unknow this. And when you step forward with your next foot, moving on, trying to obtain the things you're trying to obtain in life, which everybody's trying to obtain. I say things. I mean things in all regard. Abstract, physical, status, people, businesses. It does not matter what it is. Love, it follows this. This is why people do things. They do it because of flags. They do it because of you and the nature of who you are. But the only way that you could orchestrate this is you got to know leadership. You have to know what I have taught you in the last few videos, and you got to know what I am telling you now. You keep doing these actions, and you're a leader. It does not matter the size, scale, or scope. It does not matter if you are 6 years old, or 60, or 100. If you keep in your mind leadership, you think about that flag, you carry that flag in your heart. You carry that flag. If you want to actually carry a flag, go and carry a flag for it. But carrying a flag means things like telling people, saying this thing, going and doing this. That's carrying a flag. Carrying a flag, it's visible. People can see it. That's why a flag's powerful. Flags are powerful. Then you do things like develop your character. You do not let yourself get in the way for what is necessary to get and accomplish the vision, the flag. You then take action specifically that people value, that is good to them. They may believe in that vision and that flag, or they don't. They may be ambivalent to this. But you will need to gather all these different kinds of people. You will need to gather and use your enemies. You'll need to use and gather the people closest to you who don't give a rat's behind about your vision. Don't care. You got to influence them anyways. That's still leadership. You got to influence organizations and people. It's the same thing every time. Find out what they want. Find out what they value. Help them get the things that they value. And then, if needed, ask them to do stuff in order to get that vision. Go find other people who are actually sort of maybe heading towards that vision and consider using them. This is a strategy. Using them to help carry some of the burden to getting to that vision and end state. The how is complex and specific and all this kind of stuff, but there are things that you can do. But do those action words. KCDES. Know, carry, develop, earn, spend. Spend so you can carry, develop, earn, spend. It's all for the vision, my friend. Till next time, take care, be the leader.